Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This handsome devil over here is Tim, and this is the Second Legacy, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we are going to dive into the breaking news all around the FPC scoring of the injunction against the pistol brace rule. This is something that has a ton of nuance. We're going to dive in and out of it. It's going to be a great time, and I cannot wait to hear what you guys think in the comments field below. And while you're hitting buttons, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn that notification bell on. We are here to pass the blessing of the Second Amendment along to the next generation of Second Legacy, and we would love to invite you on that journey with us, and thank you so much in advance for your consideration. We're going to say a quick word from our sponsor who made this possible, Bullet Safe, and then we are going to hit this, and I cannot wait to see what you guys think. Now, the vest you're seeing me wear is from Bullet Safe, and they've sponsored these videos. Bullet Safe is on a mission to be the #1 provider for safety equipment such as this for not only the civilian, but also the security market. Now, the VP3 that I'm wearing comes in at $299.97, which makes it completely affordable and provides up to or better than Kevlar protection. This thing is NIJ level 3 tested. You are talking about up to 44 Magnum stopping on this bad boy. They've made it concealable, discreet, comfortable, and breathable. It's modular and upgradable, and in comparison to previous models, it's 50% thinner and 25% lighter. As you can see, I'm wearing it in the filming of this spot, and it is not even adding to any of my dexterity whatsoever. This is something very concealable, and if you're in the market, this might be something just for you, and thank you to Bullet Safe for making this content possible. All right, so once again, thank you to Bullet Safe, but my friends, my brothers, my sisters, all out there across America, freedom-loving individuals, all one of you. This is amazing. FPC, Tim, how happy are you with the headline alone?
So I don't want to spike the football just yet, but man, this is good news.
You're peeing on my Cheerios already.
Yeah, I've been, fist pumping since learning about it. Like, oh yeah, this is so sweet. Yeah. We're not all the way there yet, but we'll delve into that.
And you know what, Tim? Just for that, we're gonna have a topic just on that later. But right now, let's dive into the exciting news, because I'm excited too, because this is a big deal. If you guys have been following the pistol brace rule, this is some movement we need to see. So let's set this up properly so we can dive into this discussion. Mr. Producer, could you throw #1 up for me? So FPC secures injunction against the ATF pistol brace rule. We'll seek clarification on scope of ruling. Now, there's a lot of things here. I'm going to slide to #2. New Orleans, Louisiana. So this came out of the Fifth Circuit. Today, Firearms Policy Coalition released a statement on the Fifth Circuit's order granting an injunction pending appeal in Mock v. Garland, FPC and FPC Action Foundation's federal lawsuits challenging the ATF. Recent rule reclassifying brace pistols as National Firearm Act regulated short barrel rifles. The injunction, along with other case documents, can be viewed at FPC law, and we'll throw it right down there if you guys want to dive into some more. But off the top of the bat, Tim, let's give a high level. If someone happens to not have any idea of what the pistol brace rule is, and they've been living under a proverbial rock, high level, can you bring them into the fold, and then we'll break this down a little further?
Sure. So about a decade ago, a guy by the name of Alex Bosco introduced a new product to the market called the pistol brace. And a lot of people thought SIG had developed it because they were the first to use it in manufacturing, right? And a lot of people called it the SIG brace, but it's actually SP Tactical. So what this is basically a device that was intended to help stabilize heavy pistols like AR pistols, AK pistols, anything that, is a large framed pistol, which have been legal forever. Right. And so they introduced this product. They even submitted it to ATF, although they did not have to, but they went to the extra step, submitted it to ATF and said, can we get approval to sell this? And ATF said, oh, yeah, absolutely. Gave them a letter and everything. And so then they licensed it to SIG, and the rest is history. For a decade, these things were sold. They went through several different reviews. If you remember, they were legal for many years. Then ATF came back and said, well, you can't shoulder them. Otherwise, it becomes an SBR. So if it wasn't touching your shoulder, it was a pistol. But the minute you touched it to your shoulder, it became an illegal SBR. And then you take it away from your shoulder, and it was legal again. But it can be on the gun. I mean, they have flopped all over the place that met with so much outcry. Then everybody, just bombarded them with emails and things like that. So they reversed their decision yet again and said, no, it's fine. Just do what you want with them. Then Biden takes office, and he gives the ATF director a mandate, get rid of these things, and that's precisely what they do, which is where we find ourselves now. They've reclassified them as stocks. You have until the end of the month to take them off, but this may change things.
Absolutely. Tim, I would just like to commend you on how well and quick you did that. You know what? Well done, sir. Well done. Top marks.
It's almost like we live on camera, right?
It's almost like we do this a lot and talk about this a lot, but you know what? You're a classy individual. So, Mr. Producer, could you throw up #3, and we'll get to the really juicy part, because this is where the meat is right here. Per the Fifth Circuit's order, quote, It is ordered that the appeal is expedited to the next available oral argument calendar. It is further ordered that appellate's opposed motion for a preliminary injunction pending appeal is granted as to the plaintiffs in this case. Now, this next part's important. FPC intends to seek clarification as to who is covered under the scope of the injunction. So at the very high level, where we're sitting right now, and we're going to break this down like literally in the moment, there's an injunction for the plaintiffs of this case. Now, on the very high level, that essentially only means the people who are actually named in the lawsuit as the plaintiffs. But how does that work with the existing plaintiffs and the rest of the country? If a Fifth Circuit rules that as unconstitutional per an argument, that makes it a different animal. If there's an injunction for some, why is it not an injunction for all? So before we dive into some like comparisons, what are your thoughts on that, Tim? Like, where do you think this sits? How do you feel about it?
If the court's doing their job, they should force an injunction nationwide until this is settled in the courts. We ran into this problem with the bump stock lawsuit, with GOA's lawsuit. We got a favorable decision, then we got an unfavorable decision, raced it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court refused to hear the case. But then since that time, we have 2 other court cases that decided the other way, that said bump stocks are not machine guns. And so, that's where we're at currently. But in the meantime, they've all been banned and either destroyed, hidden away, whatever people have done with them. Well, that's what we're facing with the braces, right? So here we go into another court case. But this time we have, by the government's own estimates, 40 million Americans with these in common use devices that even by ATF's own admission isn't even within their wheelhouse. This isn't something that they're even tasked with regulating. Yet here we are. So now we got until the end of the month, presumably until, ATF and the federal government mandates that these things be removed, destroyed, whatever. There's been some flip-flopping, whether or not you can even, if you have to destroy the brace, if you have to store it separately from the firearm. The ATF director said one thing. ATF comes out later and clarifies their clarification of their clarification. It's just typically muddy. So it's so muddy, the court has to say, pump the brakes. Nobody's turning in anything. Stop the registration. Let's get oral arguments out of the way and find out where this is going to land.
So you just brought up something amazing, because as you look at this, one of the things that we have to do when we're in these fights, when we're in these court systems, when we're in the fight for our rights of what we do every single day, you have to look out and find similar examples. And what we do every single day is we dive into these examples on this channel, on my channel, Tim's channel. We dive in as we live, eat, and breathe this, because it's about freedom. So with that really long history of what we've looked at, I can provide some examples of this right off the top of my head. You've got the ghost gun case from Tactical Machining in Texas, which started out the exact same way. If you recall, this was a case that was originally ruled in favor of the plaintiffs, and then it was expanded to everyone. It expanded in the entire circuit. So you had a third or a fifth, I can't remember, it's somewhere in there, a very large portion of the country that was functioning underneath one set of rules and another part of the country not. Then you had Oregon that came out and did Measure 114. Well, the only problem was, and Tim, this is what you just alluded to, Measure 114 had no possibility of even being implemented because the government did not have a system in place. And yet they still expected it to be implemented anyway. It got TRO'd, it got halted, and it's stymied. Then you had Illinois, very similar things. The reason I bring these cases up is you have recent examples of gun control running into the exact same problem, where leftist gun controllers came out and said, we want this, we want to do this because we have to virtue signal and look like we're doing something, and they were never prepared for it, and they all got stuffed. I think this is heading that exact same road.
I hope you're right. I really do. If the court's doing their job, they should. There's no reason for them to grant an injunction just for the plaintiffs and not the entire nation. That seems silly to me.
Right. And they will issue a clarification. Now, let's spend some time going on the other side of the potential here, right? So just to be fair and be honest about it, there is a potential that this could be a wet blanket. This could just be an injunction for the plaintiffs. This could be something that doesn't turn out in our favor. But in order to understand that, you have to look at what actually has to occur. So we have to basically get into, they actually said, expedited on the next available oral argument calendar. So there's an injunction until it can be heard further. Well, what that means is you've now got a day in court to actually to expound upon it, of which all these things will be brought up. To me, that kind of lends towards this might not actually go through. The injunction might be broadened. Now, I will tell you firsthand, I am not Nostradamus. I can't tell you what's gonna happen, But I can tell you where we're at now, this is a good step in the right direction. Would you, I mean, I think that's not being Pollyannish. That's a pretty good assessment, right?
No, I think so. And you know, the ironic thing about all of this, as is so typical with the 2A community, if this was about anything other than firearms or firearms accessories, the injunction would be, you know, of course, let's just go ahead and do that. But because we're talking about firearms, it's always got to be this painful process where almost always we wind up not winning, right? I can't say that, but what I'm saying
until recently,
when it comes to injunctions, right? Not court decisions, but these injunctions, it just seems like, I don't know, I'm still tainted by the whole bump stock thing. It seems so silly to me. And again, here we are with an accessory that's even wildly more popular than the bump stocks were. They weren't all that popular,
absolutely.
Right? Most people just viewed them as ammunition wasters. These things people actually use. And again, by the government's own estimates, 40 million Americans. If that doesn't fall into common use, I don't know what does. So I would hope that the Supreme Court, if they don't get the right decision, the Supreme Court goes, whoa, let's talk about this, right?
Right.
But I know that it doesn't work that way. I know it has to work its way through the courts.
Right.
The lower courts.
And so you bring up another fascinating point, and this is why I love these discussions. Guys, if you're enjoying this, leave it in the comments below what you guys think. But where we're going now with the courts, where we've been in the past 2 years and where we're going in the future with the Bruin decision, which wrecked gun control dreams last year. I mean, like, guys, you're talking about nightmares, waking up, like clutching your pearls, holding your blanket to your face. This destroyed gun control, a lot of the precedent. Now you've got Chevron deference on the docket for this coming session at the Supreme Court. You've got the bump stock bans, you've got the pistol brace bans, you've got the ghost gun bans, and you have the AR and mag bans, all of which are working their way up, heading towards the Supreme Court. We have got a storm coming. I mean, it's crazy how much energy is pouring into this.
And Bruin's going to be instrumental into the decisions of all these cases because it is so broad in scope. It's even going to be cited, I'm sure, in the brace discussion or court case or however you want to define it. So it really, really should be interesting this year to see how all this stuff pans out. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and do all the praying I can because, man, if we can get favorable decisions on this stuff, it's really going to go a long way in stymieing the efforts of the anti-freedom, anti-gun crowd. It really is. It's going to be such a kick in the pants for them.
Absolutely. So now that brings me to something that I want to bring up because I think this is a very important piece to kind of wrap this, right? And then I'll show you one more quote from the actual press release from FPC. So one of the things that I really look for when I'm seeing these types of things is there's a reason to celebrate for forward momentum, right? It's not like the FPC secured a lawsuit that came out and said, hey, good news, guys, all gun control is null and void. Lauren Boebert just passed her new law. Everything's good. Go team. I'm not suggesting that, but at the exact same time, I think it's important to realize when you get a little win or even a step in the right direction, don't blow it up before it even goes anywhere. You know, I mean, like, I don't think there's a reason to poo-poo this decision because I saw some comments on my video last night when I was talking about this where people were saying it doesn't matter anything, it's a big nothing burger, it only matters for the certain injunction or the plaintiffs on the injunction. But understand, like, this is how it starts. Like, it has to start small. Like, I mean, I don't want to start singing We Didn't Start the Fire, but I mean, like, come on. Like, I think it's an important piece to understand. Yes, sir.
It's the internet, dude. If we got a Supreme Court ruling saying all gun control is illegal, getting rid of the NFA, Gun Control Act 1968, we're just wiping it all clean, you would still have presumably pro-gun people on the internet going, well, this sucks, this is dumb, it doesn't mean anything, it's a nothing burger. I mean, that's just the nature of the internet.
But, sir, that does not mean that I have to accept it.
No, you don't have to accept it. Ignorance and trolling are just a hallmark signature of the internet. It's just what it is.
It's a byproduct. But
yes.
I do want to say it for the record. While this is not the end result, this is a very good step in the right direction. And I don't think we pour water on it or pee in our Cheerios because something didn't go all the way yet.
We need to empower FPC. I mean,
yes.
FPC is one of those organizations that really focuses on lawsuits, right? Mm-hmm. You have other organizations, like they're not really a lobby group. They bring lawsuits. And then you have GOA, which brings lawsuits, but also primarily as a lobbying group. They have, boots on the ground in D.C. They're going around knocking on doors, meeting with representatives. That's what they primarily do. That's not what FPC does. So, if you're going to support Second Amendment causes and groups, support a group like the GOA, because they're really the only lobbyist organization in DC. If you think NRA is there, you're wrong. And then you got FPC, which is just, they spend all their resources going after these really important lawsuits. Support them all, and get on the FPC Twitter feed and Instagram feed and show your support for them. And if you can, donate to them. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be financial.
No, just showing verbal support. And if you can, shows financial support, because this is how we're going to win, through organizations like this that have the resources to bring these lawsuits.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so now I'm going to wrap this up with number 4, Mr. Producer. This is something that's a really cool statement that they put. We are very excited and encouraged by the Fifth Circuit's decision this morning, said Cody J. Wisniewski, senior attorney for constitutional litigation at FPC Action Foundation. We intend to ask the court for additional information about who is covered under the injunction, but cannot stress enough just how important this decision is. The fight is far from over, but this is a huge victory in the battle against the ATF's unconstitutional and unlawful brace rule. And to me, I think that says it really well. It encapsulates the entire opinion. We've got a very good step in the right direction. This is a massive victory. We're not all the way there yet, but we're going, so let's have some fun. I mean, that's the way I read that.
Yep, absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. And as this news breaks and changes, of course, we'll be making a video talking about what's going on. So, like I said earlier, please support FPC and their efforts. It's really important we get behind these groups. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to take part in our call-in show, there will be a link to a Google Doc in the video description below. Fill out that information and ask your question, make your statement. We'll get you on the show, and we'll have a great discussion about whatever the Second Amendment issue is that you'd like to discuss. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.